In this episode, we are going to hear from Reba, a former classroom teacher who then became an educational consultant. She is going to share a little bit about what she does in her day to day work. She's also going to share about how she grew her network and how this also grew her paycheck. Be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss out on any highlight episodes that we have like this. Also, you can find the full episode, not just this snippet, in our podcast. This is from episode 31. It's a teacher transition podcast, and you can access it anywhere where you listen to podcasts. Last of all, if you want to hear more from Reba on how to become an educational consultant, she is one of our presenters at our upcoming summit. You can sign up for that at teachertransition.com/summit, where you can connect with her and so many different former teachers, current teachers who are transitioning and doing side hustles, and where you can connect with companies who hire teachers as well. Again, that's at teachertransition.com/summit. I know, we have a lot of teachers who are very early
Yeah.
in the field of teaching, but we also have a lot of teachers who are very close to retirement.
Yes.
And some are trying to weigh out, should I teach all the way until a full retirement
Mhm.
or take retirement earlier, things like that. Yeah, anything you want to share on your path about any of that,
Okay.
feel free to dive in.
Well, basically, I started out as a preschool teacher, then went into elementary teaching. I did leave early. So, those that are beginning and in the middle and at the end, it works for everybody. But I did leave early. People were worried. But what I did to prepare for that, and I'll go back to saying what I taught like first grade, third grade, sixth grade. I taught all the grades in between, but those are my special grades. So every couple of years, I would switch grades because I
Yeah.
just liked having something different, all the years I was teaching. But while I was teaching, I think that teachers are feeling like the freedom that they have in teaching and teaching curriculum, because I had a very good principal that wanted me to work with struggling students. And because I created a lot of things that helped them get, move through the achievement bars and all of that. And I felt like, okay, I'm doing pretty good. But as this, the standards got tighter and, more, the school districts started, really tightening up on teachers or what they could teach. And so then I gravitated to teaching outside of the classroom. And then I had a lot of freedom. And
Yeah.
again, I still work with struggling readers. I started a science club for struggling students in math and science. So I got a chance to do some of the things that I really wanted to do because I missed the classroom, but I also wanted that freedom to use the talents that I had. So therefore, once I was doing that, people were asking, well, how did you teach this? And I would create that. And then I ended up teaching teachers, how to do things in their classroom using their curriculum. And so I was doing that a lot. Then I started to attend workshops. I started attending workshops on the weekends. I focused more on technology because I really like that. Drag my little youngest son with me to every Saturday meetings. It's a
Yeah.
little different now with the pandemic, but I also did online conferences, a lot of them with Classroom 2.0, simpleK12.com. There are so many venues that I did, prior to the pandemic and still now.
Mhm.
But I was just seeing how there were people speaking, they were creating content. And I'm thinking, I can do that. I've been doing that. So while I was teaching, I just kept on going to these conferences. I went to an Ed Camp conference with a friend. And then I opened up a Twitter account, and people were like, what's on social media today? And back then, when I did it, was really important. I didn't know how to do it. And so I joined it in 2010. And what was really critical about that was how many people are willing to share with you. I mean, you ask questions. And one of the real, when I was thinking about leaving teaching and going into consulting, and my resume was very teachery, and I just spoke out, and one of the persons on Twitter contacted me, and she said, I'll share my resume with you. She even called me. She said, what's your phone number? And we sat on the phone and we talked about it. I was amazed. People are sharing so much. So then I started following people of like mind that were going into consulting. Then a lot of teachers weren't leaving the field because people think about teachers staying there until the end of time. But I wanted to do more, and I was trying to utilize my talent. And so I went on Twitter. I started going to the conferences. I went on Simple K-12, and then they called for presenters, and I submitted a proposal, and I got on there. Now I'm one of their speakers on Simple K-12. So I know a lot of teachers out there. You're creating every day. We're creating so much, especially during the pandemic. I follow some teachers; they are creating great things, and this is the way that you can transition out. Then, as I was getting ready to leave, I got involved in online tutoring because I think teachers, you need to think about your income as you're transitioning. And then I applied because I for a adjunct instructor with a university because I had a master's in technology. I got that while I was teaching. And so those two things were there when I transitioned out early. And everybody's like worried. I said, well, I have income coming in. And I did that when I moved to Texas. And what I did was I started subbing. And the reason why I tell teachers to sub, even if they're going into consulting or wherever they're going to go into, is because one, we miss the classroom. Two is that we stay in touch with what's happening in the classroom. Because when you're consulting with teachers, they're like, you've never been in the classroom, you haven't been in a long time, you don't know what's going on. And I had more credibility and they were more willing to open up. I teach from a very honest base. I'm not running to your principal. It's between me and you. What do you need? And I've been very successful with that because I'm honest about what they need. Um,
This is, man, you've hit on so many amazing points. And I love some of the areas where I'm like, oh, we had that in same, or, oh, things in common. Teaching at the university level, which I loved. What a good
mhm,
experience. And you have such a fantastic example of building your transition path prior to kind of a full transition out. I think also substituting can be such a great way to stay, you're saying in touch with education, but also with
mhm,
your local community. So you're
yes,
making contacts, especially if someone is doing solely local educational consulting.
right,
So great
right,
example.
right. And the thing is that you make those connections. Sometimes you get, if you're going to go independent, you're getting customers. I work with a company that does consulting, and I love it because my schedule is wide open. I can choose because I went part time. Now there are full time positions, but family. You want to be able to travel, and you do get to travel with this. And I'm remote. You take your laptop, and you're going to that specific place. Now that a lot of us are virtual now, you still can take your laptop anywhere you go. Just make sure your background looks good. And so that in a day of a consultant, basically what you're doing is that whatever company you go into, they're going to train you. You don't have to worry about, do I know enough about this product? Once you get in, I want to say this about teachers. If you're going to go into that, feel comfortable with hearing your voice, standing in front of people, go on Zoom and practice delivering, hone in on your PowerPoint skills. You don't have to learn a lot of software. And I'll talk about a different career I'm kind of guiding into, but I'll talk about that software. But get real good with PowerPoint. Start having some really pristine and professional looking PowerPoints because a lot of the jobs are going to ask you, show us your work, present this. My first interview with consulting was I passed the interview. And it was in a restaurant because a lot of this is remote. And she said, I want you to produce a PowerPoint on our product. I had never seen the product before. Went home, clicked on every link in the site, made a very nice PowerPoint, got in front of them, and just act like I knew them. And I was hired that day. And I know all the teachers out here, we talk to kids all the time. But just get real comfortable with yourself, seeing yourself, hearing your voice, and just show what you know. Because you don't really have to know that industry. They just want to know what your presence is like. Are you comfortable? Um, the other thing is that social media is very good. Those connections are there. I joined, Facebook groups. Um, I also did like global education conference. I ended up being a moderator for a speaker. I had never done that before. So there's a lot of opportunities when people ask you to try something, try it. And so now what I'm doing is that when you're a consultant and a teacher, I'm guiding into instructional design. How many teachers have developed units of study? You're creating content, but you're in the corporate world. You're saying, oh no, I'm a teacher. You fit in. but just go into that. They're going to tell you, give you all the information, but you can just, you know, develop that PowerPoint. I'm learning Storyline 360. So all of that.
This is
So,
great. And these
yeah.
are all things, Storyline 360, we go over that in our
Oh,
instructional design course that we have from teacher to
oh,
instructional designer. And we
oh,
provide facilitator templates and like the
oh,
PowerPoint templates,
good.
all of that. So everything that you're talking about is so hand in hand. I think a lot of teachers have never even heard of instructional design. They've heard of curriculum design.
Mm-hmm,
We have
mm-hmm.
teachers who had never even heard of instructional design a handful of months ago, and they're now working in corporate as an instructional designer, making $20,000 more than they
Yes,
were
yes,
as a
yes,
teacher in the classroom.
yes.
And their motives weren't income, it was more opportunities and the ability for flexibility in the future. So, yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned that. That's great.
Yeah. And the other thing, look at, Google yourself online and clean up your online presence, especially your Facebook presence, because I don't even connect with my children because I don't know what they're going to put online. And, you never know what they're going to say. So this could be something totally innocent. But the fact is, I kept my Facebook private. So that when they do Google your name, they do look up your Facebook. They look up your Twitter accounts and all the things you're posting online. Clean that up, and and look at your resume and just clean up your resume, but also start posting things. There are websites like SlideShare, AuthorStream. I started putting that up online, and then when they Googled me, they saw these different products that I had, produced. And one interview, they told me, "You look too young to have done all this," but I could prove it because of my online presence. So I put the link in there, and they're like, "Oh, okay, she really did do this."
Now, I know a lot of teachers are hearing all of this. They are thinking, wait, everything that you're describing, that's what I want, but I don't know how to bridge that gap. And I
Mm-hmm.
know you're going to be doing a training for us in our summit, kind of showing them, like, if this is what you want, let me guide you through those steps. Can you give
Mm-hmm.
them kind of a sneak peek into what you'll be sharing and training and showing them how to do?
Well, basically, I want to show them how to, if they're in teaching right now, to look at all the skills that they have, look at what you have already, and start using tools that you can put yourself out there. You can start creating content and, uploading them and getting comfortable with where these venues are, where these places where people can find the outlet. Also, attending conferences where there are people that are doing that type of job and listening to them, listen to the way they present, connecting with them, how to clean up your resume, where to go, how to Google search when you're on Indeed and all these types of jobs. Look at what you have. Some people might say, well, I can't afford a master's right now. Well, look at what the job is requiring. Not all jobs are requiring a master's. Some of them are, but what do you want? And once we look inside at what we want, and what's out there, that's the connection. And then you can add like the instructional design. That's an adding to what I'm doing now because I got comfortable with consulting and standing in front of people, creating content and keeping the audience engaged. But they need to start practicing now. I don't care if it's out of school, in school, but those types of bridges, I want to give them some conferences they can attend, giving them some names of people on Twitter to follow, some Facebook groups like yours.
Would you mind also sharing with teachers, as you in the summit resource, how to land an opportunity in educational consulting? Because I know a lot of people are like, wait, how do you do this for Scholastic and for a variety of these companies, and sharing that as well?
Yeah, the job with Scholastic is called consulting. They're all called consulting jobs. Some of them now are turning to the name title instructional coach. And that might be confusing to a lot of teachers because they've been around that and they felt it more of as a evaluative type of title. So if you see those two titles, it doesn't mean that you're going to go in and evaluate the teacher. So look at those titles, but you're going to go in and you're going to teach a program. You're going to be in front of teachers. The school has bought the program and you're basically showing them how to use it. Be real comfortable with questions that you don't know and let them know I'm going to come back with that. Don't feel upset about, don't wear your feelings on your sleeve because a lot of teachers are, a lot of them don't like workshops. They might be forced to be there, but you make it good, you make it fun. And I always tell them, I'm the first one to fall asleep at a workshop. So I promise you, I promise you, this will be something you can walk away with, you know. And I just make sure I connect with them and know how I felt when I was in workshops. The same thing with Houghton Mifflin, you know, it's just your day, you pick your days, you go to different schools, you have to get your people skills up. Not everybody wants to be coached. So, you know, take it and say, hey, I understand how you feel, but guess what? I got something for you. And eventually, you know, it's just having your people skills up and just know what you're talking about because the company is going to help you know what you're talking about. So you don't have to worry about that. Just be in touch with you, your people skills, and, you know, ready to deliver.
Okay, let's tackle a few of the questions from teachers. So they've asked about work-life balance, like,
Okay.
and also what is your day-to-day schedule like?
My schedule changes every single day. And it's according to me. So because I'm part-time, I can, you know, set up my days I want to work and I can move them around. If I have to change, you know, days or whatever I have to do, but it's based on me. And so that's how I balance my life. If I want to go visit or visit my children or whatever I want to do, I can do that. So, and then the day depends on if it's a day of training. That might be a 6 hour day. And we always give the teachers an hour for lunch. And sometimes it might be a half day of training. So it just depends. And you get to choose which one you want to work with. So my day is different every day. And I love that. Um, if you work full time, again, your day, your hours will be a little slightly different, but most of the time it'll be the same as a school. So for instance, if you're in one time zone, it might be like you just said, you're going to have to get up at 6 o'clock and train that school or whatever. So that could happen to me as well. But so that's kind of like the day-to-day type of thing. But full-time people do work every day. They do work every day. They have benefits and those things like that. So I just paid for my benefits myself because I wanted to work part-time. But so that's your day. Being on your computer, checking your emails, keeping a really good, find a place to keep your documents and your creations. Like I had Dropbox. I had it for years before I just finally bought. I had it for like 10 years before I bought it this year. And just find a place where you can put things and you can share things with teachers, you know, get a Google Drive, those type of things. So just a place where you can keep these because people are contacting you and you need to be able to link it real quick and send them the documents or put them in a folder where they can access all the information you just gave them. So my day can be long, but it's going to be self-determined, you know, and your day might also end up with creating things, you know, taking a PowerPoint presentation, moving it around or creating your own. I even had the opportunity of creating a kindergarten play presentation. So again, it took, you know, spending time.
Can you give us any insight into compensation, like what a person might anticipate? And I know that there's quite a range, but any kind of ballpark, because I know people, a lot of teachers are like, this is so unknown. Any ideas about starting or different companies or any advice and insights?
Well, I followed the one teacher that was on the, she's doing a 1099 and she was charging like maybe 250 to 300 a day for presenting at a school. If you work at a company and you're full time, they are going to give you benefits and there'll be a 401 like that. If you work like me, I bought my own insurance, but they did have a 401k. So look at what you're doing when you step out there. You have a family to support, your spouse has insurance. Think about that, have a good conversation with them and find out how can we, you know, sustain this transition. So like you said, they're going to get paid more than they were.
One other question as far as retirement, like some teachers
Okay.
who are feeling like, wait, if I don't work all the way to retirement, I don't get any retirement. And it's like, no, if you've worked to however many years your area requires in order to
Yes.
be vested into it, can you
Yes.
speak from experience about any of that or kind of reassurance about, look, if you decide to not go all the way to full retirement, here's how it works.
So what it does, you just definitely go and talk to your retirement department and find out what, you know, what the compensation is and make a decision right then and there. Because I did that. I went to the several meetings and I looked at, okay, I'm leaving early, but I can sub. I can tutor online, so I'm gonna be okay. So I definitely looked at that first, even though I was gonna leave anyway. But I just wanted to see where I was. But then once, because I left in 2012, I started with, and I didn't know I was going to even be working for Scholastic in 2012 when I left, but I got the job in 2013. And so I was okay, comfortable. But yeah, you will still get your retirement. I can't say for different districts because California is very teacher friendly state, a very teacher friendly state. So I don't know. I don't want to tell them everything that I don't really know. But California, you could pretty much leave okay if you know. They'll tell you exactly what you're going to get, and look at that and compare it to what you're going to do. If you're going to sub, you can make it up, and then invest in an IRA. I did that. I have an IRA account. I put it in there because you're going to be making so much more money. You're like kind of shocked. You start putting money away.
Just to wrap things up, can you just kind of speak truth for a second, or encouragement, enlightenment, spreading perspective, or reassuring any of the teachers that are there in their classroom, or they're listening to this on the way to work and they're like, I don't want to do this anymore, or I want to spread my wings a little bit further.
Yeah,
Can you kind of offer them permission and
yeah.
any insight and advice and recommendations, just whatever kind of teacher truth you want to share with them?
First of all, teachers, we are the backbone of everybody. Everybody that's out there, regardless of where they are in their life, they've always had a teacher in their life. So what I want them to do is just look at, because what I did was I started getting a blank book, and I just wrote down everything, everywhere I've been, everything I've done, and just keeping notes of all the conferences because you have the talents. You have it. So just think about, okay, what do I need to do now while I'm here? Get those teacher friends, get your family friends, start just developing stuff. You can do it because it's out there. It might be a little tiny slow right now, but it's going to get better, because I'm still working. I'm still working. You know what I'm saying? Um, you can do it, and just use what you know, like fix that resume, clean up your online presence, do those things right now as soon as you can. And you can keep building and just start going to all these conferences that are available. I mean, we can do it. You can do it. Just don't jump out there. No, take those steps. If you can take that risk because you got something at home that you can, money sitting around, but you can do it because we're the backbone and they need us. I mean, there's so many jobs right now opening up because a lot of jobs have transitioned to completely virtual. And so, like you said, the instructional designing, the presentation, a lot of people don't want to use click, click, click on a computer. They want a live conference. And so just start joining these groups. When they ask for speakers or a moderator, jump in there and say, hey, I'm willing, I want to try it.
Hey, thank you so much for that, and especially for your example
You're
of
more
doing
than
this
welcome.
yourself.
You're more
So
than welcome. I enjoyed this.
I'm so glad. I'm so excited for everyone to, yeah, to be able to listen to this episode and to be able to learn from you at our upcoming
and,
summit. So
and also, I wanted to say that I'm willing to give us a freebie when you get to the summit for one teacher to get a 90-minute conference call with me, and I'll help them with their resume and help them with some searches. So
awesome. Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. Do you want to learn more about how to land this kind of job or opportunity by using the skills that you've developed as a teacher in the classroom? Then join us at the Teacher Transition Summit, where we are going to hear from former teachers, from companies that hire teachers, and where you'll be able to connect with current teachers who are currently working on their transition path as well. All of this is to empower you with the opportunities, the skills, the connections, and resources to help you take your teaching skills from where they are to wherever you want to be for your future. You can access this summit and everything that you can get through it at teachertransition.com/summit.